David?
Hey, Mike. With C.D. Lamb yesterday, was that more precautionary, and that's nothing that will keep him out of the game this
Yeah,
week?
definitely. I mean, we just limit him. He'll put, we just have the jog through today, so he'll obviously participate, and I see him practicing tomorrow.
Did the groin, excuse me, prior to a full start, did the groin pop up in practice or was something from the game?
Practice, just, really, before practice, so that's why he started with Britt, because he obviously practiced on Wednesday. Felt fine. Just felt something, Thursday morning. So just, once again, just being smart.
Mike Todd Archer of the ESPN. What'd you make of your snapper work yesterday? How'd that go with the guy?
I did a nice job. I mean, he strokes the ball. Definitely what'd you think? Did you get the times?
Didn't get is it at 1-2?
Huh? 1-2, 1-3, whatever it takes, right? Mr. Baum.
Mr. Baum.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good job, see? Showing your age.
Absolutely.
You know where Michael Keaton's from?
I'm going to say he's from Pittsburgh.
Absolutely. So, but he did a nice job. We feel good about it. Just I think just like anything, the biggest adjustment for a new snapper is more the punt protection. So we just got to continue to work there and get the timing down.
Is there between the whole operation, how do you think that affects Maher at all when you have a new snapper, a guy that he's not worked with?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's very important because, obviously the footwork, the anticipation of the footwork on the snap of the ball. So, you can see just the rhythm of the live, reps yesterday with the protection unit and with the rush. So, but, they had exclusive work, before and after. Obviously, we went more than we normally would. So, feel good about the PAT operation. I think the bigger challenge, as far as the timing and the fit and is more in the punt protection.
Mike Jordy of Yahoo Sports. You've been in this league a long time and studied the trends. When you see scoring down, why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's a number of things, and I'm aware of the statistics. The last 3 years. Obviously they were way up in 2020. And I do think the pandemic had something to do with that because I think there was definitely the balance wasn't as quite what it normally is, in my opinion. So, if you look at this year, the first component that I think is a challenge, and I've spoken on this quite often, and it's been going on for really since 2011, is the challenge that offensive linemen have in this league. Because if you look at all the positions, you're able to train as a quarterback, as a perimeter player, defensive back, even the defensive rush unit still can train at a pretty effective environment as far as what you can do in OTAs. And Lord knows we know more than anybody how strict they are with the OTAs. But that's a real challenge, for the offensive line. And just like anything, you got some premier defensive lines in the NFL now. There's numerous teams that have 4 or 5 number 1 picks. So obviously, I think that's part of it. But I think pass protection is probably the root of some of those statistics. And this league is about trends. I think the league office actually does a great job. When you get postseason in the analytics of what the trends are and things that they. The way they want the game to be played, and and keeping it exciting and so forth. So, if this is something continues, I think it'll make for a lot of healthy conversation in the off season.
Have you seen other times in your career where it's kind of gone up and down?
Definitely, I think it goes back to the trends. If you want to talk just the schematic trend. You're seeing a lot more scheme in first and second down from defenses than you did 10 years ago. Clearly, it's probably 6-7 years ago, so it's definitely another factor. It's usually in this game never just one thing, and so I think it's the comedy. You got to give the defenses credit for they're being more aggressive in first and second down because we always talk about situational football, but I think first and second down is being treated more aggressively schematically from the defense throughout the league. I think that's definitely something that I think is part of it.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Along those lines, would you say quarterbacks having to play a little bit sooner in comparison to maybe 20 years ago where they gave them a year or two to figure out?
Yeah, definitely, and that's always been the case. I can remember the 2011 lockout, and you had a couple. I think Cam Newton, you had a couple rookies come in there and play really well, and I just remember thinking that's an anomaly. That's not the norm, and credit to those guys. But yes, I mean this league is a challenge for young quarterbacks. I think particularly when you're going against aggressive defensive scheme, particularly with coordinators that are well rehearsed in it, it's very, very difficult on a young quarterback.
Babe.
Babe Lothberg, Cowboys Radio. Talk about first and second round aggressiveness, and obviously your league is trending toward not giving up the big play defensively. And the Rams won an entire game, obviously, against San Francisco, didn't have a 20-yard play. So is that a part of to Jory's question, is that part of the scoring down too?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we treat big plays as a basic fundamental. It's one of our Cowboys the six fundamentals of football. You grow up talking about ball security, blocking, tackling, but in today's game, you got to talk about the mannerisms and the pre-snap, big play opportunities, and really the pursuit and finish and the cover and finish. Finishing is so those are our six what we call fundamentals. You cannot win in today's NFL without big plays. I mean, that's been proven over and over and over again. So, and that's, to me, it's part of your planning, it's part of your training, and it has to be part of your mindset, because when you don't have them, just the last game, I stood up there Saturday night before our team. I told guys, I said the norm is usually there's about 30 big play opportunities in a football game, and we had 31 against Washington. So I felt like a prophet. But anyways, we were +5 at halftime, and those are things that I really stay on top of in game, because because it is a fundamental winning. You have to have it. Now, it doesn't mean you go back and throw 6 go routes in a row, but you have to be conscious of it, because when you get into these games, you ebb and flow games, it's easy to get off your track, calling defense or calling offense. And I think those are just really good, healthy reminders. When we talk about sticking to the basics, fundamentals, that's what I'm referring to.
And I know there's different statistics out there. Your big play, 10-yard run, 20 pass, or how do you define?
Yeah, everything. I mean, but sacks. I mean, turnovers. Takeaways. Those are all kind of in what I consider a big play.
Anybody else?
Will Dak do anything today, throwing wise? Even though I know it's a jog through you guys, but really.
No, he'll be in the rehab group.
Mike, you were pretty intentional when you got here about keeping Dak in the same offense he's been in. We see some other quarterbacks around the league, including Jalen Hurts, who have had a different offensive coordinator for 6-7 years in a row. How much does that impact a quarterback, and in what ways?
Well, I think it's more about scheme concept, and really most importantly language. The biggest thing for Dak Prescott when I arrived was really to keep the language the same. Because in Kellen, the play caller has to install, but Kellen's the gatekeeper of the language, and that connection is very important, because at the end of the day, you got to be able to speak the language, but most importantly, whether it's 4 or 5 years, there's certain concepts that he has hundreds of reps in. I think sometimes you can throw out the baby with the bathwater when you come in and just say, hey, I'm going to my old system that I've been in since 1989 because this is what I believe in. But what I believe in is how the quarterback's developed. I believe in how the quarterback has a menu of reads that he goes through. So those things are all in place, going back to my whole offensive history. But the language and the concepts and building off of what Kellen and Dak had before here, that was the focus, and I think Kellen has done an excellent job with that.
Go.
Washington hasn't started the practice window. Any setbacks in his?
Say it again.
Washington hasn't.
No. I mean, I think I would say he's on schedule. So he's here every day, and he's doing a lot more in the rehab part of it. So he's doing a good job.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.